Postmodernism. So like the idea of what we talked about before, with philosopher Eric Chelstrom on one of our podcasts, something kind of related to it is subjective morality that each individual determines for themselves instead of there being objective morals that everyone follows, kind of getting rid of that and replacing with subjective morals. Kind of take that metaphor to postmodernism. It's not just that, but it's also applying that to the truth. We get to the point where we say truth itself can be determined by the individual and can be subjective. So whatever the individual says is true, well, we have to kind of accept that.
The word itself, postmodernism, I think I had heard about it before, but it wasn't until recently that I actually like stumbled upon it being an actual ideology. Basically, that everyone can believe whatever they want to believe, and it's okay to do that. And what are maybe the effects that it's having?
Yeah, we were talking about how marriage seems to be decreasing significantly in recent years, and also, and I mean, I want to look this up because I want to fact check myself. But last time I checked, and this was just in the past year, uh, the rate of children being born is also decreasing. The rate of like procreation is decreasing. People are less likely to have kids now, less likely to. I think what this points to, even from, I think everyone can agree that an unstable family, right, is unhealthy. Now, it can work in some cases, like single parents can sometimes make it work. It's not the most ideal situation, and sometimes life gives you what you don't want, and you have to deal with it and cope with it. But the most healthy way to raise a child isn't, it's, I think people know this, like, it's not divorce, it's not single parent families, it's, with both parents in the picture. And it can have I mean, this the psychological literature shows it can have detrimental psychological effects on children. Maybe not in every single case, but the majority of cases of children.
If everybody has their own right or truth, the postmodernism, kind of pushes for that to happen, for those to open different cans of worms of like topics. And to some degree it's almost confusing, right? Because if there's no where there is no order, where there is no union, it's unstable. Like you said, there's no there's no foundation. If there's no foundation of what is true, what is a base of truth, then there's disruption. And so to some degree I think this could lead to a very um state for a lot of kids. I did promise to not put in my opinion, but it does seem very unstable, just looking at it from the outskirts. That if everybody has their own truth, it could lead to not knowing, blurring out the truth of what's actually concrete. I think postmodernism might say like, well, that's, if people are logical, they'll realize that there is a truth. But it kind of goes against that though. Like, if one says, well, everybody can decide their truth, well, what if you have some person that says like, well, it's okay to kill human beings, like, I just, I'm introverted, I don't like people, like, it's my truth, like. And so it can lead to a lot of can of worms that can be affected by it.
Many philosophers I've heard argue that it's self-defeating to say that whatever personal truth one person says is just automatically true, because, well, then someone could say like, well, your personal truth is not true. So it's like you have to believe that person's personal truth is true. And if they're saying that person's personal truth is not true, then that means they're telling the truth by your logic. But then that doesn't make sense, because it just kind of collapses in on itself. Because, you can, if anyone's truth is true, I say your truth is not true, Jose. Well, that means it's true, right? By their logic. But then you say, well, no, your truth is not true. Well, then who's right by that? Who
Yeah.
You have no way to measure who's right and who's wrong. with the
Yeah.
postmodernistic thinking. And it's interesting when you look at the history of where it came from, because it started with positivism, which was the belief that the only thing we can derive from reality is what's objectively in front of us. That's where hardcore scientific method comes from, is positivism. Anything objective is what's physically here. Then post positivism was similar. It was a little bit less, I think it was a little bit less strict. And then that evolved into the constructivism idea that, well, maybe we're being a little too strict on saying that we can only derive truth from what's objectively in front of us. Maybe truth can also be subjective. And that's where the study of phenomenology comes from, the study of individual people's kind of interviewing people and getting their individual subjective experiences. And then that's where it evolved, I think, from there into postmodernism. And now it's turned into a cultural war.
I think right now, what's at stake, is, what is truth, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good question. And if everybody has their truth,
Yeah, well,
then there is no truth. Is that what we're
yeah,
saying, that
that's what it's,
everybody
you know,
true and
what you just said.
everybody should respect their truth?
Yeah, what you just said was in the Bible. Pilate said to Jesus, "What is truth?"
Like